welcome back.
Welcome back to Talking Blondes, and thank you so much for tuning in today. We have another special topic that Caitlin and I will be discussing. And for those who listened to the vulnerability video, this is a perfect segue into today's episode, which we will touch on in a little bit. But I thought to start off our podcast episode today, Caitlin and I would like to just do a little shout out to our community. Thanks to you guys since we launched, which will be like 2 weeks this Wednesday since we launched. We have already gained followers and we have already gotten streams and downloads for our podcast. So none of that was possible without you guys. So it means so much to us.
We're so excited. This is as we said before, this is a dream that has required countless hours and blood, sweat, and tears, all the things. And, we are just so happy to even get to be here and be part of your days. And we're just looking forward to just growing and getting better as we go and just continuing to build our community. So whether this is your first time listening or, you're here with us for episode 3, welcome. We are overjoyed to have you, and let's go. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, guys, I'm going to share a quote with you that I happened to come across in my social media feed that I thought was perfect for today's episode. So I'm going to recite the quote, and then we will go straight into today's episode. So here we go. Heard someone say, accidentally spent all my life making sure everyone else around me feels comfortable, only to realize I never felt comfortable the whole time.
Oof, that hits.
Yeah, that hits.
That hits deep, really deeply.
And Kayla and I had this initial reaction to this quote, and it has a lot to do with people pleasing.
Yes. Virginia and I are, well, I should say neither of us are strangers to the concept of people pleasing. I don't want to say we're old friends because that would maybe indicate that we are fond of people pleasing, and I don't want to go that far. But we absolutely have walked that journey and we know that life. And this quote, as you said, Virginia, I think it's a perfect way to kick off this episode. So I'm so glad you found it. And you just found it like a couple of days ago, which is crazy.
Yes.
Timing.
Which we love those signs from the universe.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Bring it, for sure.
But yeah, my first initial reaction to it was, oh, that hits hard, because I spent most of my probably young adult life always feeling like I needed to make other people comfortable. And that would mean that I was playing small the whole time and compromising myself. So Kayla and I on today's episode are going to be talking about our experiences with people pleasing, how we've been healing it, and I also kind of want to challenge the negative stigma around people pleasing. So much like in our vulnerability video, we talked about how vulnerability in itself is not a negative. However, if it is coming from a wounded place, that is how one could have a negative experience with it. So I kind of want to challenge that with people pleasing, because if it's coming from a healing, loving, genuine place, then this particular person, in my opinion, is like fulfilling their true calling, acts of service. And that is a love language for a lot of people. However, if it can be coming from a wounded place, people pleasing, more than likely there's a performance with it, so an authentic vulnerability or lack of vulnerability. People pleasing so that you don't upset anybody, make a disturbance, wanting to keep that person even though that person's not really serving a purpose in your life. So Caitlin and I have had our fair share of experiences with that. and I'm going to look to Caitlin here to kind of start opening up about her relationship with people pleasing.
Yes. All right. Well, great way to kick it off because you burst off with that quote. Awesome. Just completely summarized the feeling of being a people pleaser. Yeah, I mean, I being an only child, being the child of two parents who divorced, I definitely grew up with this mindset of, be the good girl. And I don't want to say there was pressure from my mom necessarily to do that, but I watched her, struggle so much from the time I was like 4, and I often just kind of felt like if I'm really good, like I won't add to her struggles. I won't add to all of this that's on her plate. Um, and I know too, my dad, tricky relationship there, and it's for the best that we kind of parked that relationship a while back. But he and I had a very difficult bond, if you'd call it that, where I would visit him for um, half of the summertime. From the time I was 4, I'd get on a plane and I'd fly down to Florida by myself with my little Crayola book bag and a pillow and my teddy bear, and all that aside, from the time I was that age, I always felt like I had to be on my guard and at my very best when I was around him and my stepmom. And if I wasn't, there was no like physical violence or anything like that, but there was a lot of emotional, mental, really bad stuff that would go on. And so I just always thought, okay, I'm just going to be as good as I can be. And my mom would even say, when I would come home from visiting him down in Florida, my mom, I remember her saying things like, it would take you a while to kind of become the you that we all knew. And I remember her saying to me, it's almost like you were a robot, or like I don't know, you were trying to be like a Stepford child or something, and then eventually we'd slowly see like this kind of crumble away from you, and you'd become much more yourself. Like you weren't as afraid to upset someone or this or that, And so I don't know. I don't want to harp on that too much, but I do think that a lot of those little things, of course, played a big impact in the person I am, obviously, and just kind of going into adolescence, and early adulthood and everything. I absolutely, and Virginia, you know this because we've done a lot of this work together and talked about my experience, so you're aware of this, but I absolutely brought people pleasing into relationships. So I guess maybe closer to early adulthood when it comes into to play on that end. I can think of times when I would do things just because I would want someone to stay around, which is a horrible thing to do. Horrible. And I wouldn't do anything that was like, we're not talking anything crazy here, but I would absolutely have this thing in my mind of like, I want to make them happy. What can I do? Like, I don't want to upset them. I'm going to do what they want to do instead of what I want to do, because I want them to be a-okay, and I want them to not be upset with me. Because if they're not upset with me, then everything will be fine. And if everything's fine, then my life will be great and it'll all pan out. So that absolutely, is something that I have very much kind of had to grow through. I went through it, and I caught the pattern luckily with you. You helped me kind of snatch it and dive into it. And it's still something that, I see myself like I'll be honest, Virginia, I still have moments where I find myself being the girl that says sorry a lot,
Yeah.
or the other day I was talking to someone and they were like, you've asked me if I'm okay like 5 times today, and I was like, oh, shoot, and so of course then my initial reaction is to say sorry, which I didn't. I caught myself. I just kind of let that lie, and then I just kind of like let the conversation organically flow to something else. But I do think, things like that absolutely are signs, at least in my life, of like, what does people pleasing look like for me? On top of that, as I've grown and started to go against the grain, maybe have a different view where I speak up for myself, or I question someone when they want me to do something, and I do it in a respectful way, in a way that, if I'm in a crowd, let's say there's 10 people with me, and those people might all question and have the same response as I would have, right? But because people are used to me being a people pleaser and a yay sayer, me being the one who stands up and actually says something, I've gotten pushback from people where they're like, you don't have to get defensive. Why are you getting defensive? Or you're being kind of difficult. And it's interesting because friends of mine have actually pointed it out too, where they have witnessed moments like this, and they're like, yeah, you literally just said something normal, but because people are so used to you just going with it and giving in, that I think that it gives them pause, and it makes them, be like, well, she can't talk like that. Why is she doing that? So honestly, I mean, gosh, there are many ways that people pleasing has shown up in my life, and probably will continue to an extent, but it's something that I very much am aware of, much more now, since my work with you. And honestly, just the older I get too, not to play like old millennial over here, but really, I think the older you get, like, the less you give a damn, like, because you're like, life is too short. I'm not just gonna, bend over backwards and let this person walk all over me and smile while they do it. Like, that's not cool. But yeah, I don't know. I definitely, I think too, I know I said in our previous episode that my personality type, because I'm really big on the Enneagram, is the helper. So to your point, when you say acts of service, are an organic and pure way of people pleasing, if we want to call it that, I do think that there is a part of me that does it in a pure way that doesn't need anything back or want anything back. It's not a tit for tat thing. However, it's a very fine line. And once you realize that, you have to kind of question, okay, am I in a healthy mindset and I'm doing this? Or is there a string attached and I'm not even realizing it, but I want this person to, I want them to like me. I want them to, think I'm great, and so I'm just gonna try to make them happy at all costs. That's the trick. So yeah, honestly, that has probably been my experience. I'm sure I glossed over parts of it, but those are the main things that kind of come to mind with, my history of it. There's a lot of childhood stuff, but there's also just a lot of stuff in general that, I just in my later adult years that, I'm talking with you during our life coaching. I was like, wow, I'm so glad that we caught that, Virginia, because man, it is so much easier to spot in my present. So I'm so grateful for all that you've done. And I would love to hear about your experience, because I know it looks different in everybody. It shows up in different ways. I'd love to hear what has it been like for you?
I'm gonna just start off with, can we just take a minute here to love on little Caitlin? Everyone,
Yes.
like, please, let's just take a minute here. Caitlin just opened up her heart to us, and all I can see is little Caitlin. So I just want to give her some love before I unpack some of the things that you talked about. And I so appreciate your vulnerability and transparency. Before I answer your question, for those who listen to the vulnerability video, Caitlin here opened up that a big part of her upbringing with her mom was to be emotionally vulnerable. So that's all Caitlin has ever really known, and what a beautiful thing to grow up with. So it made sense that when you went to go see your dad, which you're already very young, you're kind of like acting like a mini adult almost, like taking flights by yourself, and that must have also been maybe scary, or you're out of your environment, your routine, so might want to factor in some of that. But then you go and connect with somebody, and your instinct was that you had to be this perfect child, almost to the point of robotic. So part of me is thinking that was a defense mechanism, because you were in survival mode as a child. You did not feel emotionally safe with this person. So that makes total sense that you would take that, and you probably were rejecting it in some way too as a child. Like, this doesn't feel right, and this is not how I operate. Like, I should feel safe. I should feel secure. You're my father. You're my stepmom. Like, I should feel that way. I feel that around my mom. Why can't I feel that way around you? And you're just a kid. It's not up to you. It's not your job to dissect all that at your age. The only thing you needed to have was the emotional safety with your father and in that household. So you go back to your mom's, which totally makes sense as to why, like, it took time for you to have to, like, trust that, like, okay, I'm in a safe space again. I am with the person that, despite whatever flaws that were happening around that time, and a divorce, being a product of divorce and everything, and knowing that your mom wasn't perfect, but the fact that she provided that for you allowed you to, like, feel safe again, and to feel like you can trust this adult who cares for you and cares for your well-being. So yeah, that makes total sense. And then how that goes into your relationships and friendships. So if you were like, okay, having this like this feeling of like, okay, I've got to be perfect, and I got to be the good girl, and I got to fix and and save everybody, and that usually stems from childhood, when our needs were not getting met. So there is something really beautiful about somebody who wants to help people, and it's usually because we didn't have that growing up. So we take it upon ourselves to do it for other people. That's why we have empaths. That's why we have therapists, life coaches, counselors. Because at one point during our upbringing, our true needs, our true self, got dismissed at one point.
Definitely.
And so, yeah. And the helper, the fixer, Caitlin, I'm so glad you proposed questions for our viewers to ask themselves, because it is so powerful to take a moment and be like, why do I have this dire need to help them, to fix their problem? And is a little egotistical to think that I'm the only person that can do that. And I'm pretty sure at this stage in my life, I can't be everything to everybody. So why am I still killing myself? And that's the great thing about being a people pleaser. The badge you earn of self-sacrifice and being a martyr. Oh, how very healing. Oh, and also too, what's great about it? Nobody else suffers except for you.
Right, right. It's great.
Not to mention the physical ailments that come with it. Oh, it's such a joy.
The sleepless nights and the, like you said, I mean, my goodness, all the little things, the knots in your stomach and the trying everything for someone and then realizing you're still not solving whatever problem they may have, or you're still not, you're never going to be the solution for someone's whatever they're going through. You're never going to
Yeah.
be that. You can only offer kindness, empathy,
Hmm.
and compassion and,
Yeah.
advice if they want it, but they have we can only save ourselves,
Yes. Yes.
individually. But
Yeah.
thank you for
And
sharing.
then,
You're so sweet, and I appreciate you.
oh yeah. Yeah, and we do not have to discuss in detail, but when we start working together, because of people pleasing,
Hmm.
you are going to hang on to something that was not meant for you.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yes, yes. I absolutely, you've heard the expression square peg, round hole. I mean, I just tried to make that work. I don't want to say lost because I like to think and hope and pray that, I'm a big believer in God,
Yeah.
For our listeners who aren't, that's your prerogative. I'm just big in having some kind of higher power that I can put my faith in, and I like to believe that, you know, these things happen for a reason and God has a plan. And so, you know, I can think of a couple relationships where there's been not just months but years,
Mm.
and I don't want to say it's okay because it, if this is you, if you're hearing this and you're identifying with this is your sign. If you feel like you're just doing everything you can to keep this person, around, or you just keep telling yourself, well, maybe if I do XYZ, it'll work. Now, I normally wouldn't do XYZ, but I'm gonna try XYZ, and if I don't do that, then maybe ABC will work. And if that at all sounds like you, this is your sign, girl or guy, but probably girl, but maybe
Hmm.
guy. Hey, if you're a guy, that's cool too. These things, I I'm grateful for the lessons I learned from the experience, and the time. Part of me wishes I could get the time back, but then I wouldn't have found the partner that I have now probably. And so I'm grateful for the way that everything unfolded. I really am. But yeah, the things that you will do, um, I mean, especially things that are out of character. I can think of someone that I dated that was very into the superficial, and that's just really not me. I mean,
Yeah.
there are things that I like that are that can be, I guess, more superficial, but I'm just not a flashy kind of person, and I found myself being,
It's not your authentic
it's
self.
not,
So
and
I
I
imagine during that relationship, you probably were rejecting a lot of that
yes,
superficial
exactly,
energy.
which made me
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
unhappy inside.
Hmm.
But you tell yourself, oh no, I really am happy, or I can be happy. It's a recipe for disaster. So I say all this not to harp on it, but to say that the journey itself, even though it wasn't necessarily a happy one, I'm happy
Hmm.
on the other side of it, and recognizing the things that I, maybe should have walked away from, recognizing when I should have chosen myself, because people pleasing, right? You're not really choosing yourself. You're choosing to put everyone else or whomever you're with and you're focused on, you're putting that person first always,
Hmm.
which can be okay in moderation,
Hmm.
moderation. But I do think that seeing now of course, hindsight's 2020, seeing what I see now, and being able to recognize it, I feel like I've never been in a more authentic relationship, and just been a more authentic person.
Yeah.
Not to say that I don't have moments or days or whatever, because of course I do, but it's such a freeing feeling to be on the other side. So.
It really is.
Mhm.
You talked about when you are when people pleasing is like your main like motive.
Mhm.
Okay. It doesn't even have to be on a conscious level. It can be on a subconscious level. People pleasing.
Sure.
You may not consciously go into something like, yes, I'm only doing this because this is strictly transactional and I'm hoping to get something out of it. You could, and it doesn't make you a bad person. Okay. It just tells me that we just have things to unpack, but it doesn't make you a bad person. You mentioned playing a role, right, in people's lives. And then when you start to come into your own and establish healthy boundaries, okay, and people kind of show their true colors and are like, I'm not okay with that. Did you find it interesting? Because at that time, did it feel like betrayal from these people that like weren't accepting that you were trying to establish boundaries and that you didn't really mean any harm? Did it feel like kind of betrayal or some form of rejection?
It did, and it also felt like they weren't really understanding me, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Like,
Yes.
you think I'm being defensive, but I'm just trying to be, a very, what's the word I'm looking for? As you said, I'm just trying to set boundaries. I'm not trying, go ahead.
All I was going to say though is on that, you maybe not at the time it was happening, but don't you think that's a red flag that if this person really knows you, that would be the last thing they think of about you is being defensive, being disrespectful?
Yeah.
With people that supposedly should know your true heart?
I would hope so.
Well, this is why we're bringing this up for our viewers.
Exactly.
Because, like, to me, my close friend, they would celebrate that I was standing up for myself.
Yes.
They'd be like, girl, yes. You're like, okay. Yes. Not, we need to talk because this is a problem. Oh, honey, it's only a problem for you.
Right?
Not for me.
Right?
So when you are no longer playing that role, this came up today earlier in a coaching session with a new client of mine, and we were talking about people pleasing and setting healthy boundaries. No, we have no control over the outcome or how people are going to respond.
Sure.
You don't.
Sure.
You have no control. Okay? You can only hope for the best.
Yeah.
And if like Caitlin's situation, they happen to, be displeased with that. You're a daughter of God, Caitlin, so I'm sure many of our viewers can relate to that. My reframe for it was that you are being protected by God. You are not being rejected. You are being redirected to create space for people who are truly meant to be in your life.
I love that.
So again, at the time as it's happening, it's gonna hurt. I'm not saying it's not. You're a person. You're a human. You're gonna have all the feels. But if anything that Caitlin and I are talking about, if you can just put this in your back pocket as you find yourself kind of navigating that, because I do think it's true, because like you said, Caitlin, when you stop playing that role and you get to step into your authentic self, life is going to feel and look different.
Oh, absolutely. And the stress I just want to say the level of stress and anxiety,
Ugh.
because I will say, you know, I don't know. It's being a people pleaser doesn't make you a bad person. There's so many
No.
layers to it and levels to it. But I
Yes.
will say I can think back to moments where, it might have been a friendship or a relationship or whatever, where I'm using it in a almost manipulative way.
Mm-hmm.
Because as you to your point, Virginia, when you just said we have no control over the outcome when we set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't set boundaries, we are trying to control the outcome. And that's
Yes.
something that I know I was doing probably in my late 20s, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was a late bloomer, guys, okay? It's fine. But
Oh.
yeah, and so, it I don't know. There's something beautiful about just being like, this is who I am. This is what I will and
Yeah.
won't put up with.
Yeah.
And you may not like that, and that might
Mm-hmm.
mean we're not in each other's lives.
Yes.
And that's just how it's got to be, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Thank you
Gosh,
so
all your
much
growth.
for all of your
Oh, yeah.
insight. I, I,
Oh,
I want to hear about your experience, though, for sure. We've been talking about me, and I want to hear about you. Tell me things, whatever you're comfortable sharing.
okay. Well, I was, um, maybe in future episodes, I will elaborate a little bit more on a relationship with a narcissist.
Ooh.
I will just leave it at that. Um, but yeah, that changes you. Um, Narcissistic relationship. The person, it's not an official diagnosis, and I know we throw around that word so loosely, and people really have no idea what it means or what it means to be in a relationship with a narcissist. And I can be romantic, could be with a parent, but I really, it changed me. It definitely changed me to the point where, people pleasing. I mean, I was just in the vulnerability video. I talked a lot about putting on a performance for so long. I mean, and yeah, that was part of a false identity, but it was all I ever really knew. And it was also to protect myself because I didn't really trust people and I couldn't let people in because I felt like I was betrayed by a narcissist. So I didn't really have a lot of faith in people. And I had to look out for myself constantly. And I could not let people know that I was imperfect by any means. I also felt like when I was around people, women especially, I had to play small, and I had to make sure they were comfortable. So I found myself complimenting them a lot, and not really getting a lot in return. So if any of you can relate to that, I had to downplay a lot of my youth, and my, if you want to call it beauty, in my 20s, just so other women can feel comfortable around me. So I had to shrink. And again, that was because I was in a relationship with a narcissist. So I had to cut myself down so that other people were comfortable around me. And I did that for years. I did that for years. And when I made the switch from people pleasing to, I don't even know what the opposite term would be, from people pleaser to like, I don't know, people healer, or I don't know. I'm sure there's something out there.
If
If
you're,
you know it, let us know.
yeah, if you're listening and you can think of
Yeah.
it, put it in comments, maybe on YouTube or
Yes.
something, or message us on Instagram, any of the things.
Yeah, that would be really cool. So whatever the opposite of that was, I went hard. So I, like Caitlin was saying, like, I don't give a damn. I was gonna say I gave 0 Fs. Okay, like, and that's what happens too when you were in a relationship with a narcissist, and then you spent so many years just, just constantly cutting down on yourself, because that was my norm, and to make other people, comfortable and putting on this act. And so when I made this hard switch, it was definitely coming not from a very healing place. It came from a very angry place. And I think that's the thing about women's rage and anger. Okay, that's on the surface. Usually it's years and years of suppressed emotions just seeping underneath and want to come out. So we're ashamed and afraid of something that is a very natural emotion and reaction to years of emotional, mental, psychological, and for a lot of people, physical abuse, and narcissistic abuse. So there was a lot of anger, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, this person hurt me like that, and I allowed it, for so long. And then there's grief. There's grief of, like, are you kidding? Like, why? What did I do to deserve that? And could my life have been so different? And so I think those are all necessary stages of healing, and not one is unnecessary. I think it's all very necessary. And my boundaries were like super harsh. Like, it was, I'll cut you off. I'll cut you. Like,
I will cut you.
I will cut you.
I love it.
And I just, because when you're just like, I will never allow that kind of disrespect and that harm ever again.
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, then you kind of become like the person that you didn't want to end up becoming.
You kind of become the problem, right?
You do. You really do.
Inadvertently.
So it's me.
I'm the problem.
I'm the problem.
Hashtag Taylor.
We love you, Taylor. But yeah. So I'm all about the balance. In case our viewers, you have picked up on these past, couple of episodes of Talking Blondes, I'm all about light and dark energy. As a person, the yin and the yang, from a spiritual standpoint. But I am so not going to be able to recite this accurately. But for our religious viewers, the Christian faith, it does mention in the Bible about people pleasing. Again, I'm not able to quote it.
I don't know if I know this. So I'm super intrigued. Tell me things. Tell us things. Me and the listeners.
The gist basically is that people pleasing is what Caitlin was talking about a little bit earlier. It can be manipulative, and you're really not genuinely helping people if you're hoping to get something out of it.
Bingo.
So, hop on Google and find out. But I also know this one quote because it stood out to me ever since I came across it. And I'm not I don't identify as being a Christian. I do more spiritual, but I do believe in God. That's just what works for me. However, there is a lot of wisdom in the Bible, and one of them was about Jesus would rather have you hot or cold than lukewarm. And if you're lukewarm, he'll spit you out. And I was like, oh my gosh. So me talking about the whole light and dark and the yin and yang, I can't help but to think like hot and cold.
Okay.
He would rather have us hot or cold than lukewarm.
I like it. I like it.
Riddle that.
What do you guys think
And also,
about that?
go look into that other Bible quote that I may or may not be like thinking to myself, yeah, that came from my Bible.
I love it.
But
I love it.
Yeah, I always thought that was so profound.
Yes.
And that's why I was proposing at the very beginning of this podcast episode was maybe like challenging the negative stigma around people pleasing. Because we'll hear about doormats and people being taken advantage of and taken for granted. Well, you can genuinely still love helping people, but I do think your circle should be helping you as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can't just be that you are giving, 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 giving,
Yeah.
you know. And I do think too, a really ugly side of that can be playing into the martyr, where,
Mm-hmm.
oh, no one ever does anything for me. And it's like,
Yes.
but if you know that, you know that, but you're still doing all these things,
Yeah.
like, let's reel that in a little bit, set some of
Mm-hmm.
those boundaries, not go that route instead, and then let's see what happens.
Yeah.
That's when the authenticity and the genuine relationships really come into play. I
And
I'll
oh
go
yeah.
no, go ahead. I was gonna touch upon something else that you said, so go ahead and then I'll bring it back around.
Okay. Because yes, Caitlin, you brought up a really good point because I could look back at my teenage years to my mid 20s, and I so played that martyr card at any chance I could because it fed into my victim narrative beautifully,
I think,
beautifully.
yeah. Oh, for sure. I can relate.
Oh, I wore that as a badge of honor.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Like look at me, the self-sacrificing martyr. And when you have that fixed victim mindset, oh my gosh, like you are closing so many doors on people that want to go out of their way to help you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can reflect back 10, 15 years ago. And yeah, there's a part of you that's like, well, why couldn't it have been the person that I wanted to come from the most? And they were unable to show up for you in the way that you really needed.
Mm.
But these other people, these other beautiful human beings that were going out of their way to help you in any way, whether it was a piece of advice, planting this seed, helping you with this, like that is so, that is a gift. That is a gift. And when we, again, have that very fixed mindset, like, nobody wants to help me, eventually that's going to end up being your reality.
Yeah.
All because you created that. Not because the world is conspiring against you. You are creating that reality.
Well, it's kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think.
Yes.
I mean,
Very good way of
not
putting
in
it.
every situation, but it definitely can be.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever, in your own people pleasing,
Mm-hmm.
experience? Because I'm thinking about other things that I've done. Have you ever done this? So something that I can recall, I would do things for people that I wouldn't even do for myself, or that I
Mm.
would not ask them to do for me, but I would, because I wouldn't want to
Oh.
put them out.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
oh gosh, I mean, just random things. Like, you know, I'm trying to think of an example. I don't know, let's say someone lives in the complete opposite direction of where you're going, right? For
Mm-hmm.
dinner or whatever. I don't know, this is probably a bad example, but for giggles, for I don't know if we can swear, but for hits and giggles, let's say, or
Oh my
whatever,
gosh.
we'll just go with this. Let's say, we're meeting here and this person lives way on the other side of town. I might offer to pick them up even though we're going 30 minutes this way and it's a 20-minute
Yeah,
drive, and I might even do it if they take me up on it, but I would never ask them to do that. Do you know what I mean? And that's probably
I
a weird
do.
example, but like,
No, it's not. I totally get
you
it. And
know,
I have questions on
yes,
that.
yes.
One, did you actually ever do that for one of your friends or for
I don't know if I've ever done that specific example. I mean, probably in my like early to mid 20s, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I don't think I've done that maybe in my more recent, past 5+ years or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I've definitely done things where it's like you are going way out of your way here, Caitlin,
Yeah.
and this person that you're doing it for, they might not even realize it. I mean, maybe they do, maybe they don't. They might not even have put two and two together, like, oh wow, like
Right.
this is completely opposite direction for her, whatever. But yeah, oh, I've done it. Will I do it again? Probably not. I mean, I'm not. There's no like specific person I'm thinking of where I'm like, not for you. Just in general. Like I'm gonna be. I'm making an effort to be cognizant of my actions and what I do and don't
Yes.
offer people, as I think we all should.
Yes.
But
Well,
yeah,
I
I've
mean,
done it.
you brought up earlier about asking yourself these questions.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so like whether that was an example that you can resonate with, to some degree, but let's just run with it. So as yourself now, and you have a friend that you guys are meeting up with to go out to dinner or whatever, um, you would probably be using common sense and logic of like, okay, so we'll find a restaurant that's halfway point
There you
between where
go.
I live and where this person lives.
There you go.
And you can, come up with a plan, be like, does that sound good? That sounds great. Cool. Cool. Versus you putting yourself in that position of like, hey, so we're good at this time, and this, and like, I understand, like maybe it might be too much for you, so I can come out and pick you up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
Something else I've
Okay.
done, and this is so weird. Um, I'm just getting all vulnerable up in here.
I love it.
This is like so weird, but I've noticed. I'm like, why do I do that? If I'm getting dinner with a friend, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
part of it is I just hate making decisions in general, as you know, Virginia. But if I'm getting dinner with a friend, I will often, more often than not, have them pick the restaurant because if the food is bad, it won't be my fault. Why? That is so
Caitlin,
silly. That
why?
is so silly. So I'm making an effort. I noticed this maybe a few weeks ago. So I'm making an effort now. If I really can't decide and I'm really not sure, this sounds so trivial. Like this is like so silly, but hey, I do it. I'm gonna throw out a couple options that sound good to me, and then like I'm like, okay, what do you think? And then like we both decide together. If I really can't decide, but I'm not doing that anymore. I'm making an active effort. So I don't know
Oh,
if you're listening and there's something trivial or that feels trivial like that, something small but like very very particular that you have done in the
yeah,
past that is a people pleasing thing. We want to know. I'm
yeah.
so curious. And do you still do it, or is there a course of action that you've taken to kind of get past that? Very
Yeah.
curious. Let us know. Like I said, Instagram comments. You can email us. You can comment on
Hmm.
YouTube. Whatever you fancy. All the things. Um, I wanted to ask you too, Virginia, as a life coach. I always have this question, I think, in our episodes, but it's an important one. As a life coach, what advice do you have for people, or what comes to mind? People who are listening to this who are like, yeah, a lot of this sounds like me. Maybe not the restaurant thing because Caitlin's weird, but a lot of this sounds like me. And I don't want to be that person anymore, or I just want to grow in general. Like what when it comes to the people pleasing behavior, what advice would you have?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the question. And so far, helping people like yourself, Caitlin, in coaching. And I just happen to have a new client starting too, and people pleasing seems to be one of the areas that we want to work on. That's surface level, okay? People pleasing. There's a lot underneath that play into that, and it tends to come from our inner child wounds. So I do have a source that I'm going to put in our show notes. If you want to like kind of start the healing process with the people pleasing, her name is Gloria Zhang, and she is the like inner child healer, and that's where most of my work stems from, and she's extraordinary. I use some of her work for Caitlin's coaching program, and so that will be one source or resource. The other thing is, like Caitlin and I have been talking, is asking yourself these questions. So if you haven't got a hang on Talking Blondes, we're really big on asking yourself questions, better questions that will lead you to answers and solutions. So we can even, maybe Caitlin, we can pick like the top 3 questions to ask.
Ooh, I like that.
Yourself, and we can put that in the show notes. But sort of like a journaling prompt in a way. If you guys would like that, we'd be happy to do it. But yeah, asking yourself questions. And there was something else that came to my mind, Caitlin, as you were asking that. And I know I touched on like there was the inner child healing aspect to it, the asking yourself questions, like, you know, as to why, you know, you feel like you need to just drop everything, you know, to go help this person, or like, you know, when you feel like you're just pouring out of an empty cup, like all the time, and you're just not taking a second to like replenish. But there's an exercise I can recommend, and I actually did it with you, Miss Caitlin, during our coaching program. It's going to be 2 things. One is with people pleasing, there is a lot of seeking external validation. So if you want to challenge yourself with something, and it's going to feel, guys, it's going to feel weird, okay? And Caitlin can speak to it if she wants to, but it's meant to be uncomfortable, okay? There's no other way around it. So I am not about the quick fixes or the shortcuts or the fluff. I'm just going to put it out there right now. I'm all about, like, if you really, really want to just even touch on, you know, healing, you know, like people pleasing, since that's our topic for today, I'm going to need you to get really real with yourself, and that requires a level of self-awareness. And that's why I so appreciate Caitlin's growth. So even though she's still like kind of navigating certain things, she has so much self-awareness. And that's what it's all about. It's not about you being perfect at this, or like never being triggered again or bothered by these things. That's not what this is about. This is about having tools and resources and coping mechanisms on how to handle things better. So one of the exercises I suggested was not seeking external validation. And if Caitlin, if you want to talk a little bit about that experience for our viewers, I would love to open that discussion.
For sure.
And I've got one more exercise, but I want to let Caitlin talk here.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking that was where you were going with this, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can tell you guys, you know, everybody listening, this put me out of my comfort zone, but in such a good way. So if I recall, I don't remember if it was a week or 2 weeks that you had me do this, but it was anytime I was going to make a decision, whether it be big or small. I mean, I guess if it was like really big and I needed, to have some kind of heart to heart, maybe there would have been an exception there, but pretty much any decision I had to make, I had to make it myself. I was, the rules were no going to my friends, my mom, whomever. And I remember, Virginia, I think I texted you a couple times. Like, I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like, it could have been anything minor from like, I'm at the store and there's two different shirts and I can't decide which one looks better and I have to just pick, I mean, like I said, some of it's silly, some of it's little stuff, but some of it's like, just random things that happen throughout the day that, you know, instinctively you would text a friend or you would, run it by someone later at dinner or whatever, or you face what is it, like analysis paralysis, where you're just like, okay, I could go with that option or I could go that or that, like, but if I do that, then I can't have that, but that one might be better, like all the things. And
Yeah.
Virginia was like, no, just pick. Like, the worst thing that could happen is, what? You didn't pick the other thing? Oh, well, And I
Yeah.
remember too, Virginia, one thing that, Gloria talked about, because I'm sure there was a podcast about that I listened to, and that you spoke to me about, and it's so true. Decision making is a skill set. So
It
if
is.
you are not doing that on a, daily basis, you're,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say weak, but you kind of are. Like, if you don't have that feeling of, autonomy and confidence in yourself, then you're not, you're gonna struggle with it. But you're only gonna
Yeah.
get better when you put yourself out of your comfort zone and you do the work. As Virginia was saying, there's no fluff here. We're not here for the fuzzy feels and the, yeah, you just do whatever feels right for you. This is not your podcast. If that's what you're looking for, hate to break it to you, kids, but this is not it. We are here to root you on, to
Yes.
join our club. We're all for it. Like this can't be your podcast. But Virginia, you're so right, and that exercise helped me really kind of lean into something that I was not used to. And I
Mm-hmm.
would find myself, feeling so nervous to like do something, or or whatever, and then I'd be like, okay, I made the decision and the moment's over and I'm okay now, and I've become much more confident, just over time,
Mm.
and it was huge. So yeah,
That's
it was great.
huge.
It was great. It was,
Oh.
and I still have my journal from, because I would write down little things, I
Mm.
should pull that out maybe, and I can refer to some of that maybe in a future episode of ours, but yeah, that was a big.
Oh.
And I will say too, I don't want to ramble here too much because I know you have a part two to this, but I will say too, one thing that I loved about working with you, and anybody who works with you, if you choose to go this route with them, of course, but they will get this option with you where you give them homework. You're not just talking to them in a virtual call or on the phone or maybe in person, whatever. You're actually giving them things that they can do in their daily life. Case in point, that exercise. So I'm the kind of person where I love a good pep talk and I love a heart to heart, but I need something to help me actually, get the gears turning when the conversation's over. Like, I need to put it
Yeah.
into action, and that's what you help me do. So that's a great exercise.
Oh. Thanks, Caitlin. And thank you for opening up. Like, it's so great to hear from a client's perspective, like
Yeah.
on, that exercise and how it was effective for you, and then the fact that confidence and growth came out of it was like, oh, I love that so much. And like Caitlin was saying, like, the decision making is a skill set. You like being in tune with your own body, like you actually already hold the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the true point of that exercise, it's not to ever, look to a close friend or family or whoever you trust and value their input. It's never about seeking that ever again. But this is about like just being so in tune with yourself. You already have the answers.
Mm-hmm.
You really do. And something I came across a while ago, but it really stood out to me, was that if you share whatever it is that you've got going on and you're seeking external validation, if you are sharing it to more than 3 people, you are not seeking advice, you are seeking attention.
Ooh.
And I thought that was really, really interesting.
Oh, yeah, I really like that.
So, again, this exercise, it sounds very black and white, all right? And I had to do it for like a week, I think. Again, guys, this is not ever about seeking advice, ever again. But this is, like Caitlin was saying, like this is to give yourself your own ability to make a decision, be okay with it, and move on. I was gonna drop, a word that it's not necessary, but that is.
Fuck on.
Yeah, Caitlin. Duck it. So yeah, that's really what the true intention to that exercise. So if you're feeling, adventurous, I say give it a go. If a week is like, you're right, try it for a whole day. Try it for a whole day. Like your phone is silent. And see, like, yes, it is to try something new, stepping out of your comfort zone, but it is to get those gears shifting. So the other part too, if you're like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
But you should. I recommend it.
Highly recommended. Part 2 to it. And again, it's black and white, but it's not meant to like, like this is how it is. It's saying no. No.
I love it.
No. Guys, it's going to sound so weird when you start saying no. You don't.
To quote the Olsen twins.
Caitlin, stop. They were a huge part of us millennials, okay?
Listen, I don't mean that you got it, dude. No. I mean you don't got it, dude. That's what I'm saying. You don't got it.
That's why you're here, because you don't got it.
You don't got it. To quote the Olsen twins, no is a full sentence. Isn't that good?
Okay.
Isn't that good?
Okay. First of all, fantastic. Second of all, yes, yes, yes. It's no, nothing else. Guys, this is hard. This is hard. No, without any explanation. What?
Yeah. It's scary.
As if saying no wasn't hard enough. We're asking you to not follow through with an explanation, which, what do people pleasers do? Over-explain. Everything.
And here.
So imagine
go ahead.
you're being approached, okay? And your first instinct is to say no, but you don't do it because you don't want to let this person down.
Mm-hmm.
So you go, no.
Mm-hmm.
No, I cannot. No. Are you sure? Because what if we made it this time?
No.
It's not gonna work. No. Oh, do you have something else going on? At this point, I have many things going on. And so, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not able to do this. And I'm so sorry. I will let you know when I'm available.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize, how I was already, stuttering there? I want it to go into all the... Because you're going to get pushback, people. You are going to get pushback.
Oh, yeah.
So, not maybe the best example, but like, you see how I was already kind of like unraveling? Like, guys, we are not proposing this because we don't believe in it. We believe in the effectiveness of it.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's why it's a practice. It is a mental practice.
It's a skill
You're like
set.
working out this muscle,
Mhm.
saying no without over explaining yourself. Okay,
And
Caitlin, I know you had something.
if you're at all like me, um, you have some sort of notion in your brain that saying no is mean or cruel
Yeah,
or, whatever. Because why? Because you don't want to let someone down. But here's the
mm-hmm.
thing. You're going to be letting yourself down.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I think I could go on a whole other tangent, a whole other podcast episode about self-love and how there is a very negative downfall that comes with just love yourself, just do you, this, that, whatever. Like, so, and I'll park that for a later date. For the case of this example, you do need to not let yourself down. You need to be kind to yourself in this example, because when you are overdoing it for everybody else, you're exhausted, you're in pain, your brain is foggy, all the things, you're functioning at such a lower capacity than you would if you were just being kind to yourself and setting those boundaries. And so I hated that example I said in our last episode about putting your freaking oxygen mask on before so you can help the person next to you on the plane, but it is true. Sometimes saying no is actually the kindest thing you can do.
It is. It really is. It's like, it's saying no, so you can say yes to the things that are going to bring you joy and fill your cup back up. So
100%.
if anything, guys, it's not about. Remember when I was talking about how like people genuinely want to help others,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe not even have someone go unnoticed, or unheard. So that's the people pleaser in us, fulfilling your needs. It's a beautiful act. It's a beautiful, selfless act, when it's being done from a healing, loving place. I guess, like, with all that, when you are saying no, it is not because you don't want to help that person. It's not because you don't want to show up for them. It doesn't even mean that maybe you really do have time to be able to do X, Y, and Z. It's not about that. It is saying no so you can say yes to the things that will bring you joy and fulfillment again, especially if you're pouring from an empty cup. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like Caitlin and I were saying, if you have people in your life who can't acknowledge that and support you in that,
Not your people.
not your people. Not your people. So just keep that in mind with these exercises that we are proposing. It sounds like very black and white, but obviously there's a lot of nuances to it. But this is really just to get uncomfortable, try something new, work out an old muscle, and build a new skill set.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's what we love to do here on this podcast. So this was so great. I've been looking forward to this topic, people pleasing. So we just appreciate everybody who is tuned in today and who's been with us since the very beginning when we launched. Like, this is so exciting for Caitlin and I. And yeah, any feedback, any conversations that you want to get going, like, we are all for it. But like Caitlin said, we're on Instagram, you can email us. Of course, our videos also get uploaded to YouTube as well. But I think we're going to start like with the show notes for today's episode. We'll get the conversation going.
I love
Caitlin and I
it.
will come up with a few questions. And yeah, we'd love to hear from you. But we really appreciate everyone tuning in today.
We do. We're so grateful for you all, and just for you showing up. We're showing up, but this is not just a conversation between two blondes. This is a conversation between two blondes and a greater community, and you guys are that. You're the reason why we want to do this. We love just getting to connect with people and just trying to share, our own experiences, Virginia's expertise, and just see what little rays of light, we can help kind of just scatter throughout our community, and just see how you all are doing. So definitely keep the conversation going. Maybe you do one of those exercises or both that Virginia recommended.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. If you're like me, keep a journal for sure. Definitely, you'll notice the little thoughts and the patterns in your brain starting to kind of grow and change, and it's pretty crazy. It's a really cool thing. So, anyways, we are so grateful. Thank you so much for joining us for episode 3.
Episode 3, yeah, and Caitlin and I, before we just completely call it a day, it's safe to say that we do have a recording schedule. So as of right now, what's working for us is that we will drop a new episode on Spotify and YouTube every other Wednesday. So sometime in the morning for like my time zone, for those of us in the Pacific Northwest, it would be more afternoon for our East Coast viewers like Caitlin over in Ohio. So we're gonna just roll with that and see if that works. But of course, if we change anything, we will let you guys know.
We're so excited. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. We will see you on the next episode very soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.